Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, Building the Collective Conscious, a show created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and yay, debated. I'm your host, Michael Eric Owens. Folks, it's been a minute, but I'm back in the studio. Had to have a little therapy. I had to, go back and kind of reimagine what life is going to be going to be like in the next 4 years. But I want to talk today about where do we go from here? Because I know there's so many people out there like myself that didn't see this happening. Well, in a lot of regards, I think we just couldn't accept. We couldn't accept that there was an electorate where we would say the majority of folks that that I guess um, believe like Donald Trump does. And I think that that is a very scary notion, I think, for all of us. And so I had to take some time. I hope you also took some time. But folks, what I want you to do is hit that like, that subscribe button, and that notification button so you can get my content when it comes out. But where do we go from here? What do we do in our moment of disillusionment, in our moment of confusion, and our misunderstanding of um, our times, really? Because I, like you, I'm sure, thought America was a place that was struggling, but a place also that was progressing in the right way. So, but before I answer where we go from here, I want to talk a little bit about um, where we are at right now. And you heard people say in the past that if we don't listen to the lessons of history, we are doomed to repeat them again. And so I was thinking about where in history does can we make a comparison? I mean, you heard a lot of people say, "Well, man, this is our civil rights time. This is our." I think we have to go farther back, and I want you're going to have to do some research. I'm not going to go into depth with this particular, I think, exercise that I want to give you, but I want you to look at the Compromise of 1877. Yeah, folks, we have to go that far back. History is our teacher. It's our teacher. We don't know what lies ahead of us, but we can interpret and we can apply, we can understand, we can analyze what has taken place prior to our current situation. And so this election, let me just give it to you. It was two governors. It was the election of 1876. And again, look up the Compromise of 1877. And so in this particular election, you had two governors, one from Ohio, one from New York. The governor from Ohio was Rutherford B. Hayes, and the governor from New York was Samuel J. Tilden. And we know that this was a close election. It was a very close election, very close contested election. So close that the Congress had to put together an electoral commission to determine the outcome. There were four states that had disputed electors. Have we heard that anywhere, right? So those states were Florida, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Oregon. And this electoral commission, which of course was made up of all white men, decided, right, um, that Hayes would win the election, right? So this election of 1876, um, Hayes They say on March 2nd, 1877, the House and Senate confirmed Hayes as president, although Tilden had won 184 electoral votes to Hayes 165 in the first count. The contested votes, I already gave you the states for that. To address this crisis, Congress established this commission, which awarded all 20 votes and thus the presidency to Hayes. This is, you say, well, how can this be where we are at right now? Well, let me tell you what happened. The compromise, what happened for him to get the election is that Reconstruction. And if you know, at that time, American Reconstruction was happening. It was after the end of the Civil War, where the Freedmen's Bureau was in the South. Federal troops were down there enforcing the newly given rights to freed slaves. And so in this compromise, what happens? In the compromise, they end Reconstruction. They remove all federal troops from the South. And they remove all rights that the former slaves had. They gave land back to former slave holders. And they essentially gave power back to the southern states. So let me bring you to the present day. So maybe you're starting to get this. When we hear states need to make these decisions, power needs to go to the states, folks. When we talk about when we talk about the decision for the abortion decision, excuse me. When we talk about Roe versus Wade, excuse me, we find that Trump, what did he say? He said he wants states to decide that. Now, when you look at destroying the Department of Education, what is the argument? The federal government doesn't know what it's doing. Let the states handle that. When the states had power, but let me just say to you what happened when the states had power. After this compromise, you had the birth of the Ku Klux Klan. You had convict leasing. Folks, look at, you can just, I know we're not a country that reads a whole lot. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but we just don't read a whole lot. Okay. So I'm going to suggest to you that you go back. It's very, it's slavery by another name, convict leasing system. You had the KKK, you had the convict leasing system. Then you had the black codes, which restricted even the way black people move, the vagrancy laws. You had then Jim Crow, separate but not equal. And so as we see in the modern era, we see the MAGA Republicans. Now, I want to make a distinction here because I don't want to paint all Republicans with the same brush. It would be easy to do that in one's despair. But let's be honest. Not every Republican is kissing Donald Trump's ring. We've seen the defectors. We've seen those speaking out. We've seen folks that even work with him say, hey, look, this guy is unfit. So we can't do that. Although we disagree with some of the policies and things of that, we cannot paint them with a broad brush. I'm talking about the MAGA Republicans. That's what I'm talking about. Those that are in the cult, those who are kissing the ring, those who are drinking the Kool-Aid, those who are, despite this guy having 34 felonies, all of these convictions, despite him being a sexual abuser, despite this guy just ripping off countless people, fake university, being sued by the Department of Justice for discrimination against black people, calling for the execution of the Central Park Innocent Five. They believe him over anything. Yeah, folks, that is a cult. Even in the face of clear evidence that they can't see, because I think for them, the message for them is that there is an America for them. It's not America for everybody. There's an America for them, and Trump can usher in that America that they want. And we're going to talk a minute about that America um, that they want. So states' rights. You're going to hear that. The states should make those decisions. There was a time where the states did make all those decisions, but it wasn't good for black or brown people or women. You remember when the states made all those decisions, a woman had to ask her husband to get a bank account. She had to ask permission to even get a job. Um, let's talk about when the states had. There was no education. There was no education until Brown versus the Board of Education, which opened up education to minority people. You see, the mega Republicans are trying to give power back to the states because they want to control. They want to control certain things. They want to control the levers that create progress, human progress. I'm not talking about technological progress because we have made. I I remember the phone booth, so I have lived pre-internet, right? I have lived those days. I understand the progress technologically that we've made, but we're still in the dark ages when it comes to our social progress. And so the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, um, they want to give power back to the states so that they can control education. What do we hear now all the time? Ban books. Now, who are the authors they're banning? Just look at the authors they're banning. They're not banning white European authors. Just look at it. They're banning some of. Okay, first of all, if you have white authors that are writing about true American history or writing about society in a way that removes the veil, so that we can see the truth of where we've been, where we're going. Oh, they're against them. I mean, that's the crazy thing about when I hear people about white supremacy. I'm talking about what about these white brothers and sisters that's not down with that? Like, what y'all gonna do with that? You know what I'm saying? It's like the I don't know, like the Back to Africa movement with Garvey, right? What you gonna do about the brothers and sisters that's not down for that? I don't I don't understand their animosity is even toward folks that look like them that don't believe like them. Healthcare, they want to privatize healthcare. They want to give that power to the states, not to the federal government. They want to give it to free market because they know who controls the free market. It's not black and brown people. Law enforcement, complete immunity is Project 2025. Trump has said it himself. He wants officers to have complete immunity. Doesn't matter what they do. Um, he wants them not to pay any price for it. So, although they want states to have um, power, they're not against using the federal government to restrict the lives of those who they deem less or they deem not part of this American experience. I give you an example. They say they want a national abortion ban. That's not state rights. They want to ban a federal ban on same sex marriage. That's not states' rights. They want to destroy the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, for you people that still don't know that you benefited from President Obama. They want the federal government, the power of the federal government to do mass deportations. And they want to end, get this, folks, birthright citizenship. I don't know what's more being a citizen than being born in a country. You know, that's like you have to prove you in a family. Like you're born in this family, right? That's mama, that's daddy. But all of a sudden now you ain't part of this family until you prove something. What? Being born in America. I thought that was the 14th Amendment the last time I checked. But you heard Trump say the other day they want to get rid of birthright amendment. They are scared. This is, let me say what this is about, folks, that you won't hear on mainstream media. You will not hear it at a lot of these, even these liberal outlets. You will hear these people tell you that Kamala didn't run a good campaign. That's why she lost. Oh, she didn't have enough time. That's why she lost. People are just not ready for a woman. That's why she lost. Let me tell you why she lost. It's the same old thing. It's racism. It's as simple as that. It's racism. Everything that these MAGA Republicans are doing is to prevent the branding of this country. That's it. It's a last ditch effort. This is everybody has, listen, we at the OK Corral. Everybody has showed up to say, look, we got to stop. We have to stop. Who are they preventing from coming in? It's black and brown people. Who are they trying to get out? Black and brown people. Who are they trying to ban books from? The majority, black and brown people. Who are they trying to restrict their choices? It's women. Why? Because they don't want white women to have abortions. The numbers just say that. It's a numbers game to them. They know that they're losing that numbers game, and eventually, they're going to lose the power dynamics that they have here if they don't do something. Think about Reconstruction. What happened? The Reconstruction Amendments, progress. What happened with progress during the Reconstruction? You had the 13th Amendment, which ended slavery. The 14th Amendment, we already talked about that, birthright citizenship. The 15th Amendment, which gave the right to vote. We see progress. What happened with DEI? Don't forget now. DEI hit the scene. Companies started hiring DEI consultants and DEI directors and programming and requirements, and all of these things started happening in the federal government and this, that, and the other thing. And they said, whoa, hold up. Nah, uh-uh. All of a sudden, our country started moving toward more equity. They said, no, 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 no. We have to stop this because of white supremacy. That has always been our Achilles heel. It has always been the thing that it's the thing that we don't want to talk about. We don't talk about white supremacy because white supremacy makes white people feel weird, strange. Some of them even feel guilty, even though they're not guilty, even though they don't believe in that stuff. Even if they don't, it's like, it's like that syndrome where you see on TV, you see a black guy that did something and they say, oh, that's, all black people bad, right? It's that guilt by association. My white brothers and sisters, you need to get over that because we have to have a conversation about white supremacy. And if you're not part of white supremacy, man, wear that like a badge of honor because then you're part of us. You're part of the human race because white supremacy is not part of the human race. You can't be part of the human race when you want to get rid of part of the human race, when you devalue humans. That's not part of the human race. That's anti-human. And so we need to have a conversation about white supremacy. You see, this idea, I always when I hear these questions and they say, what was America great? I mean, they asked the question. It's a very simple question. Candace Owens was asked the question. She was baffled. She couldn't. None of them can answer that because there's no place in American history was great for everyone. And I can tell you, I cannot think of a time where I want to go back. Not a time where I want to go back in American history for what? We're trying to move toward a more perfect union. We're trying to move toward a more inclusive society. That's what we were doing. When Barack Obama got elected, he ushered in a lot of changes, not just in laws, but also in the way we interacted, view one another, value one another. And then we had Donald Trump and all of that. Right now, the mechanism is in place to dismantle all of those gains. You see, um, MAGA, MAGA is not a time. That's why they can't answer. It's not a period in American history. It's just not. They cannot answer that because MAGA is an idea. It's a fantasy. Yeah, it's an imaginary idea. It doesn't exist because MAGA is white men in charge, women subservient, everybody else, and it's a society that is happy, that is thankful that white men are in charge. Now, where does that exist? It doesn't exist. Women are not going to be subservient. Women are not going back to the kitchen. Women are not going to ask you for permission. Dude, what is wrong with y'all, man? Like, seriously, how can you be so archaic in your thinking? It's not going to happen. Yet, this is what the push is for. Now, I'm getting to that question where we go from here, but this is where we are at. This is the push. You need to understand what is happening here. This is about the burning of America and about the mechanisms to prevent that in mass deportation and shutting down the border and stopping birthright citizenship, doing all of these things, restricting a woman's right to her make decisions over her own body, controlling women. This is about white men restoring in their mind because it's only in their mind, right? Like this wasn't even their country. Let's keep it real, right? It was taken. And we might say in the vernacular, it was gangster. They took it. And so this fantasy, this is they're chasing a fantasy. See, in a cult situation, it's all about the fantasy, the imagination. We're the only chosen people on the planet. And God coming to get us. Okay, Heaven's Gate. The comet is coming, it's going to carry us away, just us. You see, you know it's mega, just us. We know what's right. Donald Trump said, I alone can fix it. That's what he said. What has he fixed? He's fixed nothing. He has broken. The last thing I want to say about, and then I'm going to say, where do we go from here? The last thing I'm going to say about what you need to be prepared for. It's not that Donald Trump can dismantle everything that he says because that's impossible. I mean, you're going to need the states to ratify things. That's just not going to happen. Okay. Okay. He's not going to get rid of birthright citizenship. However, what the mass media does is they sow confusion and they panic people. He's using the mass media. I don't care if you're talking about Fox, CNN, MSNBC. They're all on the Kool-Aid. That's all they talk about is Donald Trump. Now, I'm sitting up here talking about Donald Trump. You might say, well, that's ironic. Well, what I'm trying to do is lay down for you what is happening in our society. And so Trump is able to use the media to get across his message, even though his message is a lie. So he's going to wreak havoc on democratic institutions. He's going to test them like they've never been tested before. They were tested last time, and they bend, but they didn't break. The question is, can he break them? And he's trying to put people in key positions to break them. Why? Because he wants to move America toward its first American dictatorship. Again, MAGA is not. It's not a period. It's not a period. It's imagination. It's a fantasy. It's a thought. It's well, they believe that Trump can take them. It's an idea. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We have to be prepared for the chaos. There's going to be chaos right and left. You're going to hear rumor about this and this person doing that and that person doing. You cannot get caught up in that spin. That's exactly what he wants you in the spin cycle. Because if you're in the spin cycle, you can't see. If you're getting hit from right and left and you're depressed and you're angry, you're mad, you're sad, you're this, you're that, you can't see really what he's doing. It's smoking mirrors. It's the sleight of hand. And this guy has been conning people all his life. He's in his 70s. He is an expert con artist. Expert. This man is selling cologne now. He's selling tennis shoes. He's all of these wares as the, oh my God, he's the president. And we have had a president that's a gangster like that. He's selling watches and steaks and, oh my this dude is crazy. Literally. Confusion. That's what he wants to sow. In the next 4 years, it's going to be so chaotic. We've never seen 4 years like we're going to see 4 years. He's going to try to dismantle the institutions that we hold dear to ourselves. He's talked disparagingly about every institution, but he wants to run them. He wants to be in charge of the military, but we're suckers and losers. Me, I'm a veteran. You know that. So this whole thing, you cannot get caught up in the spin, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Let MSNBC, CNN, all that. Let them say whatever, but don't get caught up in there, right? Where do we go from here? We must first accept that we live in a country where the majority of the electorate, I'm going to say the majority, because I thought before the election that the majority of the electorate would never have this, but the majority of the electorate wants this. So you know what? Mama said, right? Be careful what you ask for, right? It ain't green on the other side. We've heard all the platitudes, but trust me, they mean something now. Because America, those that voted for him, although many will suffer, America will get its first dictator in chief. He's going to try. He might not achieve it, but he's definitely going to try. He's already shown you that he is. Let me wrap this up, folks. Let me say this. Where do we go from here? We have to live in the truth. The truth is that we're all created equal. We all have value. Those of us who are not narcissists, who are not sociopaths, those of us who are empathetic and loving and caring people, we need to surround ourselves with others like that. This is about survival. This is not about thriving. You're not going to thrive over the next 4 years because let me say this now. If you are black or brown or female, you're not going to strive. Matter of fact, if you are in rural America, you're not going to strive over the next 4 years. So we have to buttress our beliefs. We have to come together and reinforce what we know to be the truth. Continue to be you. Continue to do you. Don't let this change you in the sense where you become bitter and where you become, what do we want to say, despondent, where apathy sets in. No, we don't want that. We need you to be, because what's going to happen is you have to understand that although history shows us that this took place, that blacks lost everything, went into the condition that we are in right now as a community can be traced back to that time, there was still progress made. We still got Barack Obama, right? We still got Kamala Harris first to be on the top of a ticket, female, um, Asian, black. So we have to be thankful for the progress that we've had thus far, but we need to remind ourselves that what we see, what we hear, what we are experiencing over the next 4 years, that's not reality. That's a fantasy. That in the end is going to fall apart anyway. Now, the question is, will be here to see it? And again, I'm not trying to be a prophet. I'm not trying to be to tell the future. I'm not trying to be a psychic. But what I will say, if you go from 1877 up until the 1960s, right, with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, or you can go back to Brown versus the Board of Education in 54. Right around that time, we're talking 80 years. 80 years for the United States to recover, to get back to some ground where you can begin to work on progress. 80 years. That was one election. You might say, well, things were no. Don't dismiss this. Go back, do your homework, understand where we are at, and where do we go from here? We live in the truth. We must surround ourselves with like minded, kind, and empathetic people. Keep being you, keep giving, keep encouraging, keep loving, keep standing up for what is right, because mega is a lie. They're living a lie. But, folks, we have to live in the truth because history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time, and what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.